Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Simon and today I'm back with my May book haul part 2, a little bit late in the day because we're quite away into June now. And just to let you know, there will be no May wrap up on this channel this month. Not because I'm having a blip with wrap ups, because there's going to be a June wrap up part 1 next week. I've got it planned and everything. But because overall in May, when I was looking back at books that I'd read, I'd either read them for work stuff that I can't talk about yet, or I'd read them for, I was rereading the long list for the Desmond Elliott and rereading for the short list, and for the winner, sorry, because we picked our winner, but we don't announce it until the 1st of July. Our shortlist is out now. I'll link the video where I talk about debut novels, my top 55 over the last 5 years, which was inspired by that shortlist. I mentioned the 3 books at the beginning of that. In that time, I probably could have just held them up for you, couldn't I? But I haven't. I've teased you. Link down below. And then it only left a few other books that actually I talked about in vlogs, 2 reading vlogs that I did over the last, well, I was going to say last month, but the last couple of weeks. So I'll link those 2 reading vlogs down below as well. So there wasn't masses else to tell you about, but what I am going to do, I think, for my Patreons, because I do let them into some of the secrets of the stuff that I'm working on that I can't share publicly, I will do, like, my final spring wrap up will include May, but from June onwards we're back to 2 reading wrap remix, 2 reading wrap ups every month. So now back to the haul, and they've changed a little bit because I'm being really tough. And if I don't really know what a book is about, or like the vibes that I've got for it, or why I want to read it, and it's just a book that I've been sent or whatever, I'm not going to be talking about those anymore. They'll still go on my shelves if I think I might possibly at some times read them. But yeah, that's just a new thing, and that's going to be the same going forward. So it's never been everything that I get coming through the door, because a lot of stuff I sift straight away. But there are sometimes books that I talk about that I think I'm a bit keen on, but I'm just not quite sure. And now I just want it to be just the books that I'm super duper keen on. So we've talked for 2 minutes. My mother's coming later, so I just really need to crack on. Come on, Simon, you can do it. So first up from publishers, as always, lots of books from publishers first. First of which is Bear by Marianne Engel. And this, I think, is a reissued book from like the 60s or 70s about a woman who falls in love with a bear. That's all I know about it, and I'm intrigued. As I think I've told many of you before on this channel, that my nickname that a lot of my friends have given me is Sugar Bear. It's even why I've got my Sugar Bear tattoo, and Chris calls me Bear. So that also made me want to read it. Sorry, this could be a slightly stoppy-starty edited video because I do have quite bad hay fever. I actually had a tear running down my face in the thumbnail. I'm not sad, just sneezy. Anyway, so second up we have Lisa Blower's Pondweed, which I have mentioned on the channel before, as it was sent to me in hardback. And this is about a couple, I think it's a couple in their 60s, and I think they're a couple, not just like a couple of friends, who sort of go on an accidental road trip that becomes quite an adventure around the UK, specifically around ponds. I think Selwyn, one of the couple, works in ponds. So yeah, I'm intrigued by this. I love the idea of like adventure, like road trip for 6-year-olds. I think that sounds really good. Then we have Consolation by Gary Disher. Now, I read a book by Gary Disher I read a book by Gary Disher because Sarah Schmidt gave me it. Now, I can't remember what it was called. It was something like Bark or something, and it had and it was a historical sort of semi-thriller, I'd say. This is much more a thriller. So I'm intrigued to head to his stuff because he has been raved about in Australia as a crime author. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. 1 second. And he's back. And one thing I was going to say as well, I don't know much about this because I've already read one of his works and liked it. That's enough for me to keep it on my TBR. So sometimes it'll be a very simple reason that I decide to, well, it will be on my TBR. It's not been on my TBR, it's going on there. Because I'm actually going to do my 1 in 1 out after this video, if I can stop sneezing. But yeah, if it's just a little thing that still means that I want to read it, it doesn't have to be like a big deep thing that I know the blurb off by heart, because I don't really read blurbs, but I just wanted to mention that to you. So there we go, that's Gary Disher's. Then a reminder that I haven't read this author's first novel, and I really wanted to. This is Neil Blackmore's The Dangerous Kingdom of Love, and his first novel, which I have now completely forgotten, The Intoxicating Mr. Lavelle, was a queer historic tale about like 2 men going on a European tour, and one of them being I think quite a rogue. And this is all about Francis Bacon and his relationship with the king at the time, and the king's lover, Car. Now, I didn't know about this story at all, so I'm really, really intrigued for it. It's out in July. I need to get cracking, frankly, don't I? Oh, hay fever tears. Hay fever tears. Sympathy votes in my videos. That's what I'm after. I asked the publishers for this book. It's not the sort of thing I tend to read because it's set around... Well, no, actually, that's not true. I don't like books set in World War One or World War Two because I read so much of that when I was young. I was forced to read it because we studied it so much that's really put me off. It's like, you know, when you read certain classics when you're at school and you don't love them after that because of that reason. But I do find the after-war period really interesting, and this book is set in the summer of 52. It's The Night of the Flood by Zoe Somerville. It's her debut novel, and it's about a woman, Verity, who is living on the Norfolk coast, and she's kind of caught between two worlds because on the one hand, she's seen freedom during the war, although the awful things have been happening, but her childhood friend and sort of possible husband-to-be, Arthur, has returned from national service and he wants to escape with her, but she's not quite sure about it. And then there is a huge flood along the Norfolk coast, which I think this is based on, what does it say? Yeah, around a North Sea flood in 1953. So summer 52, obviously it heads into 53, and how that flood changes everything for them. And I'm really, really intrigued by it. And Zoe is lovely on social media, which always helps. That's what I'll say. Not like just as in she's been particularly lovely to me, but what I mean is like when I see her tweets and stuff, they're always really lovely. Honestly, the tears that are falling, the emotion. Oh, it's not emotion. Sorry. And he's back to talk about The Great Garden by Meg Rossoff, which I have not read any Meg Rossoff, and I actually thought this was a novel for adults, but it was up for, I think, the not the children's category, but do you know what I mean? That category in the cost is it called the children's category? Because I don't think it's a children's novel. I think it's more a YA novel. Anyway, it's about a group of cousins who are celebrating beside the sea. And I think a set of new folk join this summer holiday and everything changes. And it's described on the back as a serpent has entered paradise. So yeah, I'm intrigued for this one. I've heard as well there might be some quite interesting things around sexuality in this. So looking forward to that. Then we have one of the most sort of hyped books of the year, and one of the ones that everyone's so excited about, myself included, Sally Rooney's Beautiful World, Where Are You? Now, interestingly, I've signed an NDA, so I'm allowed to show you that I've got the book, and I'm allowed to give you a sort of idea of what it's about, because I think it's very much kind of more conversations with friends than normal people, which is interesting, because I preferred normal people to conversations with friends. I think it's about young people, trysts, all those kind of things. But because of the NDA, I can't tell you anything about it until it comes out, so I might not read it for quite a while. I was going to read it actually last month, and I could have technically because I didn't do a wrap-up for May, so oh, silly me. Then from the lovely folk at Orion, I've got this which I'm very excited about. This is Julia and the Shark by Kieran Millwood Hargrave and Tom DeFreston, who is her husband and an artist. And this, I don't know what the story's about, but the artwork and the story together are just gorgeous. I'm so excited to read this. I will be reading this very, very soon and reporting back. Then we have Interviews with an Ape by Felice Fallon. Now, I don't like books with talking animals in as a general rule. However, I interviewed Felice Fallon for a showcase earlier this year, and this sounds really interesting because it's about an ape who can communicate with humans but can also communicate with all other animals, and so we get to hear what they've got to say through this ape. The ape is called... I don't know, it doesn't say. But, does it say? No, it doesn't say, but it does say that it's inspired by the real story of a female gorilla called Coco. But this is about a male gorilla. So, yeah, I'm intrigued for this one. It's out in July. This, I should say, is out in September. So there we go. I will link all of these down below if I have time before my mother arrives, because I know that helps. Now, I need to make a pact with myself about this next book because it is Will Dean's Bad Apples. This is the final cover, I think. There we go. I don't know why I'm moving, but it's there. And this is the third in his Tuva Moodysson series. I have not read the first two, and I like to read books in a series in order. But I need to get a wriggle on and do it, and it's made me think I really need to have a look at my crime shelves, because I've got a lot of series where I've not actually read the first one, and that might actually be a project for the second half of the year, is to kind of do a vlog of me reading the first in various different series and seeing if I want to carry on or not. So this one I've got, but if I don't like the first, obviously, etc. I do have a standalone one as well of Will Dean's. Then we have Everyone Is Still Alive by Kathy Rensenbrink, who has written non-fiction that I really, really enjoyed. This is her first novel. This is about a couple and their child who move into, I think, the wife's dead mother's house, and so it's all about taking over that house, but also the grief that she's going through, and yet also how this sort of new house and new space unsettles everything with them as a couple. So that intrigues me a lot, and like I said, I really loved Kathy's non-fiction, so I'm intrigued by her fiction. Then we have, now I've read some Lauren Groff and really, really enjoyed it. It's Lauren Groff's Matrix, I should say. This though, when I did look at the blurb, I can't really make sense of it, because I think it's a historical novel about a woman who comes from a long line of warriors. She is called Marie de France. Now, I don't know if she's a real character from history or whether she's made up, but it features like Queen Eleanor of France. It looks at Angleterre. This is actually the sort of blurb that really intrigues me, because it gives a hint but not too much, so that intrigues me all the more sometimes. And I want to head to this one. I normally do these in size order, I don't know why I haven't. We have A More Perfect Union by Tammy Huff, and I really, really, really wanted to read this when it was out in hardback, but I didn't manage to get a copy, but then Maria very kindly sent me a paperback. So I've now got an eyelash in my eye. Honestly, the things I go through in order to create content, what a hard life, Simon. So, I think it didn't help that we shook out a rug before, because we moved furniture around and stuff. We've got new sofas, very exciting. You can see those in my reading vlog that's coming on Monday. I love them, or you can see them on Instagram. Anyway, we shook out a rug and it was really dusty. I think that set me up even worse. Anyway, back to this book, all about this, not me. This is apparently an epic tale of love and courage, and Henry is a man who sets sail to America from Ireland in 1848, but when he gets to Ireland, it's not what he envisaged, and actually there's a lot of phobia towards the Irish. And then we skip to Sarah, who is a slave on a plantation. I think she's caught the eye of the master, but she's also caught the eye of the local blacksmith, who is Henry, and I think something starts with them from there. I think this is going to be lovely. Then we have 5 books I have talked about on this. No, actually, that's not. Yes, I have talked about one on this channel before, but I haven't hauled it before. Books that I have mentioned on the channel before, but these are final editions. So here we have the stunning final edition of Kate Moss's An Extra Pair of Hands, which is a really apt book, and I'm annoyed with myself that I haven't read it this week, because this week is I think International Carers Week, and this is about being a carer, a story of caring, ageing and everyday acts of love. And I think me and Mum should read this and see if we can do a live with Kate, because I'd really love to do that, as well as being a brilliant author. This is Kate's first non-fiction, I think. She is the co-founder, or one of, the original founders of the Women's Prize, and you know how much me and my mum love the Women's Prize. Then we have Jen Ashworth's Ghosted. I still haven't read this, but I am going to be reading it as the first or second book of my next reading vlog, which will start on Sunday. I'm actually going to get my mum to choose 4 books for me to read. I don't know if it's going to be the first week of July or for the last week of June going into July, maybe the first week of July, because I'll be seeing her then, because hopefully we're going to the Women's Prize party together. But but that won't come later, because what I'm going to do over the next few weeks is sort of head to the books I'm most excited about that are coming out or have come out already so far this year, because obviously at the end of June, beginning of July is when we do our favourites of the year so far. Then we have Dear Centauran, which is Akwaeke Emeze's Black Spirit memoir. These are letters to people in Akwaeke Emeze's life, good and bad, and I think this is going to be so powerful. I'm actually shocked I haven't read the proof yet, but I think it's because I was like, that's out in the second half of the year technically, so I should wait. Then we have Mrs. England by Stacey Halls. I love Stacey Hall's writing. This looks like it's going to be set in a creepy house. That does it for me instantly, but also so does Stacey's writing, full stop. I love the foundling, and I absolutely love the familiars, so I'm sure that I'm going to love this. And on the cover it says there's no such thing as the perfect family. Instantly I know that I'm going to love it. Then we have both the finished copy and the proof copy of Sentient, What Animals Revive. What Animals Revive? Revive isn't even a word. What Animals Reveal About Our Senses. And that's all I know about it. I think I talked about it a little bit in my books I was most excited for coming out in June, because there are things around like spookfish and vampire bats, and I think there's some really lovely postcards that I can use as lovely bookmarks. I'm always down for that. And yeah, what we learn from star-nosed moles and all sorts, and how gorgeous is that cover. So yeah, obviously I'll be reading this one and keeping this nice and pristine, because that is what I do. Then I have one book that was a gift before 7-8 books I bought myself, and the gift is Dara McNulty's Diary of a Young Naturalist, which does what it says on the tin. But this is about a 16-year-old boy, Dara, who wrote, his diary, and this is won so many prizes, and he's one of the youngest winners of, I think he might be the youngest winners of several prizes. Winner of Books My Bag Readers Award, winner Wainwright Prize for Nature Writing, winner Newcomer of the Year for the Irish Book Award. And Melanie got me this when we were in the book bar when we filmed our latest book club, which I'll link down below, about a book I'll be talking about shortly. And that's because it may well be one of our summer selection. What we're doing is we're changing book club so that we announce 4 books at a time and then read those over the following 4 months, so that you have more notice to be able to get your mitts on it. So possibly get your mitts on this one. Like I said, all the books will be linked down below. Then the podcast that I'm working on for BBC Sounds has inspired some purchasing. First of all, Speak Gigantula by Erenison Okoji, who is one of my co-presenters on the podcast, along with Dan Smith from the band Bastille. And this is Erenison's first short story collection. I loved Nudie Branch, which is her latest short story collection, so I'm intrigued to read more of her short stories, because they are very different and otherly and wonderful, and I love that fabulous, can't say. And then when we've recorded the episode so far, we've sort of started to set challenges for each other as a group to read, and me and Dan are supposed to, by the next time we record, have read Orlando by Virginia Woolf, which I didn't have because I'm not very good with Virginia. We don't get on very well. I liked her book Flush about her dog, but other than that I have really struggled. So I hope this is going to be a good way in, and because we're sort of reading it as a group, and actually that is a lovely font, so well done me for getting this edition. That's going to be going to get me through it more, but actually I need to message them and see if either of them have started it yet, because I haven't. So there we go. But we're also going to be reading some Toni Morrison books together, so it's just lovely, and hopefully you'll enjoy the podcast when it comes out in the autumn. Andrew Macmillan is one of my favourite poets. This is Pandemonium, his 3rd collection, and I needed it. I have got it high on my TBR to read during Pride Month, which of course June is, so I'll get to that one soon. The book that Melanie and I did for our latest book club is Graham Norton's Homestretch, and the reason that I bought this last month is I got all the way to London, and I read them really last minute, like really last minute, because it keeps it fresher in my mind, partly, and also because I just do. And I got on the train. I was like, I haven't got the book, so I had to literally get off the train, leave myself in the hotel, and then run to Gaze. Well, I walked very quickly. I don't run. Walked to Gaze the Word and get myself a copy. So I've read it. Like I said, that video will be linked down below. Sorry, Sneezer McSneezer again. I thought I'd got past it now. I'd have a good stint. Anyway, the next one I bought myself in London as well, actually, in Foyles, is In Our Mad and Furious City by Guy Gunaratna, and I have read this. This was part of a vlog that will be on Patreon. I don't think it's going to see the light of day on this channel, where I let sort of what was going on pick what I read. So like I was getting a train, so I read a book set on a train. Then when I was in London, the Jalac Prize winner was announced, and it was The First Woman by Jennifer Nanzuba Makumbi, and I have that here, so I didn't want to buy myself a book that I already had, and then I'd asked lots of you for books that were set in London that you think I would like, and this came up really high, so I just thought because it had won the Jalac Prize the year previously, that made sense as I was in London, and I enjoyed this very much. I'm not doing a May wrap up, so I won't talk about it on this channel because it's not probably going to be one. Well, no, that's going to say it's not probably going to. I really, really enjoyed it. It's not going to be a favourite book of all time. What I will say is, I think the way, because basically it's set around a white soldier is killed by a young Asian man, and it starts riots, and it starts just this whole whirlwind of events follow on from there. What I will say about it is I thought it was really, really well written and really powerful and poignant, but there are several narrators and 2 or 3 of them began to sound the same, and so that lost the power for me a little bit. So yeah, there was that. I bought Derek Jarman's Modern Nature whilst I was in Foyles as well, and that was because I wanted to read this while I was in Rhugylch in Wales, which is the place that the book On the Red Hill by Mike Parker is based, which I fell in love with that book. I'm in love with North Wales, and it's now an Airbnb. I'll link the vlog, the reading vlog that I made there below. And I wanted to read this there because it was about nature and queerness and those things combined. I thought, well, that was perfect, but I just didn't get around to it because when I go on holiday, I read a lot less. Chris suddenly reads oodles and I just sort of stop. And while I was in Wales, I got myself Seffi Atter's Everything Good Will Come, and this was because I was in a independent bookshop, which I think is pronounced Penralft, I think. And they didn't have a massive fiction selection. They didn't have a massive fiction selection. And what they did have, though, was quite a few books that I just never heard of. And Seffi Atter's Everything Good Will Come was one of them. They actually had a couple of her books, and I nearly bought more than one, but I thought, no, come on, hold back. And what made me want to pick this up is it is a book set in Nigeria, and I really like books set in Nigeria by Nigerian authors. There's something about them that I just, if I pick them up, I find them really hard to put down. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. And last but certainly not least, is a book that I bought myself and Pip, because it was her birthday and I was looking for books for her, and I thought, I quite fancy this one myself. And I always like to buy Pip a lot of crime because she really, really enjoys it, and hopefully Crime Time will be coming back from July every quarter. That is the potential plan. But what's the book? Get on with it, Simon. That's not what the book's called. The book's called The Postgroup Murders by Ellie Griffiths. And what made me really kind of turn to this one was that it's about a woman who's murdered, who was a murder consultant, who plotted deaths for authors writing crime novels, and that I just thought sounded so interesting. So I picked it up, and also I think it's one of her what's the word when they're not a series? I can't think of what the word is. Standalone. It's one of her standalone novels. So there we go. So those are the books that I got in the second part of May. I can now get to do my 1 in, 1 out. So I'm probably going to get changed out of this t-shirt and just film it straight away, if I'm honest, because then it gives me the whole weekend off to just chill out with my mum. Although we will be filming our order of preference of the Women's Prize shortlist and our predicted winner, or the book that we would like to win the most. So that's what we're doing this weekend. And like I said, I might get her to do a video where she picks 4 books for me to read in the first week of July. So there we go. That's that. Let me know how you are. Let me know what books you got in May or what books you've got recently. There seems to be some children really shouting each other in the street. But yeah, in fact, my mum's just messaged, which might mean that she's on her way right now, and I've not died at the spare room. So I'm going to go. I'll speak to you all soon. Bye.